Because I have the most expensive Pokemon card around my neck, and
yeah, let's see it.
Superman.
Oh my God.
Be one of them.
I think Logan Paul's involved with chat is a scam. In my opinion, I think the dude is the biggest fraud that has ever happened in the history of America. The reason why this is a scam is because this Illustrator card, if you look at it, it's not a PSA Gem Mint 10. This is an 8 that Logan got regraded twice that somehow got upgraded to a 10. And the centering on this is trash. It's not a 10. That's why this card is a fraud. If you get this regraded, not as Logan Paul, it's an 8, 8.5. It's not that good of a card. Every expert will tell you this is not that good of a card. But somehow Logan Paul somehow got a Gem Mint 10.
So Logan Paul reportedly sold his PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator card for an insane $60.5 million. And yeah, I'm saying reportedly because something about this whole situation feels off from the start. The bidding pattern looks strange, the reactions don't feel genuine, and at the same time, he's already promoting a new business where people can buy digital versions of collectibles, which honestly feels like the same concept recycled under a different name. If you're still putting your money into anything tied to Logan right now, that's a serious gamble. Even though he posted on Twitter claiming people got refunds from the liquid marketplace situation, digging deeper shows a very different reality. Users report getting as little as 1% of what they originally invested, which barely counts as a refund at all. This isn't a return, that's a loss dressed up as one. So let's break this down, because there's a lot happening here. The card was supposedly sold after what they described as a huge bidding war, but the way everything unfolded didn't feel natural. There was even a tweet pointing out that if the seller is going wild, celebrating and yelling, "No way bro," at your offer, that's usually a clear sign you're overpaying big time. And honestly, that actually lines up. If someone selling an item can't believe how much you're offering, that's a red flag. It usually means you're not paying for real value. You're buying into hype. For some context, Logan claimed he bought the card for about $5 million back in 2021, but that number has been heavily questioned, with many saying it may have been inflated to pull more attention. The card itself is definitely rare. It's an Illustrator card that was originally given out through a contest decades ago. It's labeled PSA 10, which is supposed to mean flawless condition, but when you actually zoom in and examine it, there are visible marks and whitening on the edges. Some collectors argue it shouldn't be a 10 at all and could realistically sit closer to an 8, which completely changes the value. What makes things worse is how the card has reportedly been handled over time. It's been seen in odd situations, like sitting near greasy pizza boxes or appearing in random staged photos. Even if it was inside a case, that kind of careless exposure for something this rare just doesn't sit right. It's like owning something priceless and treating it like a prop, and that alone raises questions. Then comes the moment where the card gets flipped again for $16.5 million, which is already a huge number. But the real shock hits when the buyer goes on stream and says he believes the card could be worth $100 million. And Logan's reaction? It feels off. He barely reacts, just saying, "Yeah, wow," with almost no emotion.
Every possible angle, and I concluded this is a 1-1.
Wow.
So if it truly is a 1-1,
Yeah.
it sits against all the other icons like the Mickey Mantle,
Indeed.
PSA 10, of which there's 3,
Indeed.
the Wagner 8.
Indeed.
If those cards sold today, I mean, you know better than anyone. I think they're 50 to 70 million personally.
Wow. Wow, you did your diligence, bro.
So
Good
you
for
know,
you.
I think this card's a $100 million card. It
This
just depends on how long you want to wait. But I got to tell you, man, I mean, we're printing the money like crazy.
Yep.
And the currency is being fundamentally debased.
Yep.
And these store of value assets, like collectibles, like gold.
Yep.
Dude, a T-Rex dinosaur fossil. That's on my list.
What?
I'm gonna buy the Declaration of Independence, maybe from you.
Yep.
We'll find out.
Bro, this is crazy.
And I'm not stopping there. This was only the beginning.
Yep.
This is my brother, Tony Mucci.
Mooch, bro.
He's a film director.
Oh, the Pokemon master.
And we have been fans of Pokemon since we were kids.
Oh my God.
This was the right way to start the treasure hunt.
You just starting?
I just started it, baby.
Bro, bro, that is so epic.
The treasure hunter.
The treasure hunt.
And if you want to learn more about it,
Yes, I do.
go to treasuretrove.com
I'm so intrigued.
and follow
I'm
at
so
Treasure Trove on
intrigued.
Instagram. There's a lot more coming, my man.
This is crazy.
This is crazy.
Just the
dude.
beginning.
This is bigger than the card. It's bigger than me. I don't even understand what's happening right now, but it's surreal, dude.
Bro,
It's surreal.
God bless you. I think this is a great first acquisition for that treasure
I
collection.
fucking agree, my
Oh
man.
my God.
I agree, dude.
You're a gangster. You are fearless, bro. I was talking to the camera thinking I was talking to someone out there in the
Oh,
audience.
man.
He's right over there. He's just right over there.
We were listening. But we were listening.
Dude, so was Rip It Ray.
That moment ends up feeling awkward instead of exciting. Even Ken Golden seems uncomfortable, barely making eye contact with the buyer and mostly glancing over at Logan like something isn't adding up. The overall energy feels strange, like even they know something doesn't fully make sense, and that only adds more doubt. At the same time, people on Twitter were reacting heavily, but Logan had his comments turned off, so no direct criticism could show up under his posts. And it didn't stop there. He was also blocking users, which only made things look worse. Some replies were directly calling him out, asking how he plans to handle transactions for those who bought fractional shares of the card through Liquid Marketplace, because that part is still unclear. This is where things get more serious because it's not just about one card anymore, it points to a bigger pattern. Over the last few years, Logan has played a major role in pushing the Pokémon card market into a hype-driven space where prices rise fast but don't always reflect real value. What used to be a simple hobby has slowly turned into something driven by money, attention, and viral moments. Some argue that rising prices are good for collectors, but when those prices are built on hype instead of real demand, things can fall apart just as quickly. We've seen this before, especially with NFTs, where prices were pushed up fast and then crashed just as hard. Hype can build value overnight, but it can erase it just as quickly. There are also moments that make people question the intentions behind all of this, like when Logan bought a first edition Pokémon box that later turned out to be fake. Even though many suspected it early on, it still went viral and ended up driving attention to his other projects. At some point, it stops feeling like collecting and starts looking like strategy. Then there's the whole Crypto Zoo situation, where fans reportedly lost large amounts of money and were promised refunds that didn't fully happen, which adds even more doubt every time a new project gets introduced. Now going back to the card, it was listed on Liquid Marketplace where people could buy fractional shares of it. At first that sounds interesting, maybe even innovative. But later, Logan reportedly bought the card back himself for around $250,000, even though users had collectively put in close to $2.5 million. That's where everything really starts to fall apart, because after that, the card ends up being sold again for millions. Meanwhile, those original buyers were left dealing with issues like not being able to withdraw funds or taking heavy losses, which is exactly why so many people are upset about this situation.
So here's what's happening, and I'm telling you what's going on because I know people in this industry chat. It's Logan and his gang went around the world in 80 days to everyone who's a Saudi prince and all these Saudi guys and told them how this is the new thing and everyone should be collecting this, and this is art, and this is the thing to invest in. So they went to all the Saudi people that he probably met from Jake, from all the boxing stuff, and he told them all to invest in Pokemon cards. And they are destroying the market. Not murdering, destroying them. Who can afford this? Who wants to buy a $150,000 Mewtwo? It's stupid. It's so dumb. He ruined it. If I can't buy this, why did this price go up 33% overnight? It's because Logan. It's because Logan is making it by telling all of his Saudi friends to buy it, and he's making this an impossible hobby to get into now. It's impossible. Why would Logan sell this card or care about this at all if he didn't, like, this was his baby, quote unquote, right, for years. He had this as his baby. This was all I saw about him was WWE and this, and that he owed people money. If this was really his baby, and he knew it was going to be worth $100 million, he wouldn't sell it. He'd be like, dude, this is just proof that the card company and card business is going to go up. He sold it for a reason. You got the bag. This miniature Hassan got the bag, and there's the worst two people you could ever do a deal with right in front of you, Golden and Logan Paul, and you bought an $18 million chain from them. You got scammed to hell, and they're just looking at you laughing. Golden's a scumbag from the dark depths of the ocean, and this guy can't even look at you. You got scammed so hard. He's looking at Logan like, is this for real? Did he really just give me $1.8 million? Logan's just like, right. He can't even do his WWE act on this guy. He's just like, holy f***.
Then Logan posted his response on Twitter, opening by calling it an epic night and thanking the Pokémon community. But many people feel like that tone doesn't match reality at all because it focuses on celebration instead of addressing real concerns. He explained that only a small portion of the card was sold on Liquid Marketplace, not the larger amount people believed, and said he bought it back at the same price while making funds available for users to withdraw. He also mentioned that the site going offline was outside of his control, which is where things start to feel questionable. That part stands out the most because he talks about the platform like it's separate from him, even though he's a co-founder, and that makes people question how much responsibility he's actually taking. If you build the system, you own what happens inside it. He also said he personally paid to get the site back online so users could withdraw their funds, which is expected since it's tied to his own project. But the way it's presented makes it sound like a major extra effort instead of a basic responsibility. He ends by congratulating the buyer and calling it a historic moment people will remember. But realistically, most people will move on quickly while the financial impact stays with those involved. And that's really why this whole situation feels so questionable. It's not just about one sale, it's about the pattern behind it, the way things are presented, and how responsibility is handled when problems come up.
Date on February 11, 2026, where Logan says LM has advised that unclaimed funds have been released and can now be withdrawn. Then we ran into this little issue where the one-time password that was used previously by the users of the platform, and no one was able to log in to my knowledge. No one that I talked to. I asked. The closest thing I saw was that they could try to log in. The one-time password did not function. Now we get into a user who is now able to withdraw $182.83. So surely that's the amount of money they put into the platform, right? Not even close. Their balance previously, $16,798.16. That's quite the drop here. Where's the rest of the money on the item that didn't sell out?
People have pointed this out multiple times. If you run the platform, you're in control. There's no excuse here. Pay people back. What makes it look even worse is the timing. While Logan Paul is celebrating a massive sale and showing off millions, people from CryptoZoo and Liquid Marketplace are still dealing with losses or unresolved issues. That gap between what's shown publicly and what people are actually experiencing is what makes this feel so off. He said the card didn't sell out on Liquid Marketplace, claiming only 5.4% was sold. At the same time, Liquid Marketplace accounts were posting that the card was completely sold out. That's a direct contradiction. One side says barely anything sold, while the other says everything sold out. How does that even make sense? Even people online started calling this out. One post pointed out that if only around 5% was sold, and he bought it back for roughly $250,000, then why was the platform promoting a full sellout worth about $2.5 million?
Meaning this is now worth more than all of these watches, these cars, and probably this dinosaur.
That's not a small gap. That's a massive difference. And it doesn't just disappear. That kind of mismatch makes everything look suspicious from every angle. There were even screenshots showing the platform clearly stating the card shares were sold out. At the same time, there were claims users could now withdraw funds since the site was back online. But this is where it gets worse. A well-known Pokémon investigator, Rattled Pokémon, said he had been in direct contact with buyers, and many of them still couldn't properly access the platform, let alone withdraw their money. That's a serious issue. Now, to be fair, some users can log in, but what they're actually getting back is shocking. People aren't receiving full refunds. They're getting tiny amounts, sometimes around 1% of what they originally invested. One example showed someone who put in over $16,000 and could only withdraw about $150. That's not normal. That's a massive loss. When you look at numbers like that, it's no surprise regulators started paying attention. The Securities and Exchange Commission has been reviewing situations like this, and in Canada, the Ontario Securities Commission has already made serious claims about Liquid Marketplace. They described it as a multi-layered fraud, saying top executives allegedly redirected investor funds for personal use and gave misleading information during investigations. Names like Ryan Bahari, Amin, Nick, and Dennis were mentioned in those claims, but somehow Logan himself wasn't included. That left a lot of people confused, because even if he wasn't officially named, he was still publicly tied to the platform as a co-founder. And that leads to a bigger question. How was he even allowed to buy the card back in the first place? That move alone raised a lot of eyebrows. Fans had already invested into shares expecting ownership, and then suddenly it gets taken back and resold for way more money, without them seeing any benefit. If those shares meant anything, investors should have seen returns with that price jump. Instead, many were left with nothing. And just when it seems like it couldn't get more complicated, another layer appears. There are claims that Logan may have made money betting on the outcome of his own card sale. Platforms like Polymarket allow users to bet on events like final sale prices, so people could bet on whether the card would sell above certain levels. And that's when something strange happened. New accounts started placing aggressive bets on higher price ranges right before the sale ended. Here's where it gets wild. Those accounts had randomly generated profile images, making it extremely unlikely for two to match. But when people compared one of those accounts to Logan's promotional content, the profile pictures looked identical. That's what triggered suspicion. Looking deeper, the account activity showed unusual patterns. Small bets, then large spikes, then back down again. That doesn't look natural at all. Overall, that account reportedly made over $300,000. Now, nothing has been officially confirmed, but if something like that happened in traditional markets, it would fall under insider trading. And that's taken very seriously. That's why people are shocked watching this unfold in real time. It looks like questionable moves are happening openly, yet there's still no clear action being taken, and that frustration keeps building. While he's celebrating a multi-million-dollar sale, people from earlier projects are still waiting for real outcomes. That contrast is what keeps this story alive. And now, Logan is already moving into a new project called Rip It, which feels very familiar.
What's up, collector? Rip It is coming soon, and you're gonna want to be first in line. So we're growing our wait list for users to get early access and to give back to the day one collectors who help us grow this thing. Top preferrers will climb the leaderboard to get rewarded with things like the holographic pull from this first edition heavy pack, a $30,000 base set unlimited box, and a PSA 9 first edition Lugia valued at roughly $7,000. Additionally, for every milestone of users that we hit, we'll do giveaways with the entire community with things like this crystallized Daniel Arsham Squirtle figure, multiple sets of base set packs, a first edition heavy pack, other great cards like Arcanine, Snorlax. You get the point. Awesome stuff, guys. My team and I are grinding 24/7 to bring this platform to life. So please tell your friends and get ready to rip it.
The idea is simple. You buy trading card packs online, but instead of opening them yourself, someone else opens them on camera. Then you can sell the cards instantly, store them, or have them shipped to you. But the real question is simple. Why not just open them yourself? The platform presents it as convenience, handling everything for you. But at the end of the day, it's still someone else opening something you paid for. That alone makes people question where the real value is. Some people online have even compared it to a rebranded version of the previous platform, saying it feels like the same idea with a different look. And when you look at the timing, it gets even more interesting. This massive Pikachu card sale brought huge attention while also boosting auction platforms, new projects, and even the buyer launching his own site to showcase collectibles. Jay Scaramucci has already talked about building a platform to document rare items. And while it's presented as a showcase, many expect it could eventually turn into another way to profit from these assets. Because that's been the pattern. Big hype, big attention, then new platforms built around it. So when you step back and look at everything together, the card sale, marketplace issues, refund complaints, betting situation, and now another project, it paints a much bigger picture. This isn't just one event, it's a chain reaction. Now the real question is what happens next? Will there be proper investigations? Will people actually get their money back? Or is this just the beginning of something bigger? Because right now, a lot of people are watching closely and waiting to see how this plays out. If you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next one.